Well, everybody, it's Sunday the 31st of May 2020. Isn't it year getting away on us? Anyway, here I am again without a script or anything like that, just a few thoughts to put down, as it were, now, so that as developments occur, uh, people can look back on it and say, oh, gee, he talked about that, and oh, how about that? You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be smart, I haven't got a crystal ball, I'm not trying to talk about as if I'm some kind of prophet or what have you. Well, what's happening now with the COVID-19, and I've been over this a fair bit, even on Facebook, just a lot of to and fro about this. I'm not talking about even the conspiracy theories that are out there and all that sort of thing with the G5 and all the rest of it, so that's too messy for me to get into right now, by the way. But what I would say, and the evidence points clearly, I believe, to this, that Bill Gates has doubled his money in the last 10 years. So he's billionaires times billionaires. I don't know what his money's worth now, but I guess we're all, by the way, going to come to judgment one of these days. So, yeah, I'm a Christian, but I just want to say, hey, I'm not begrudging anyone the money. But when you corner the medical, shall we say, development area, you want to get everybody you admit that you want to get everybody in the world vaccinated, and you own all the companies that produce those vaccines. You can rub your hands together and say, you beauty, everybody in Asia and Africa and India and wherever else is all going to get a jab of my vaccine, you know. Well, that's all very well, guys. That's my thought about old Billy Gates. And as I said, we'll come to judgment one day. But I want to get on to more important things, let's say, at the moment anyway. And that is, where is all this heading to? Now, there's people with very high research and knowledge and medical knowledge in studying viruses and other medical issues, who say that the COVID-19 came from the laboratory in Wuhan. It didn't come out of the bats, or I'll blame the bats, you know, the so-called wet market. Some people poo-hoo all that, and no, it definitely came from the wet market. Well, there's going to be an international and independent investigation into all of that, and wouldn't it be interesting if they'd have found out that it really did come from the laboratory? But there may be more to it than that, as my brother Chris was pointing out to me, that there's documentaries, YouTube and that sort of thing, and I know you can't rely on everything you see on YouTube, and I'm going on them myself, so I'm just saying, it says it was being developed as a germ warfare in the United States. This is back in 2006, maybe 2010, that period. Anyway, it was being developed, and we got into the Obama era, and I'm a Republican supporter, by the way, if I was in America, but I'm not a Democrat, so I've got to say that right now. So I'm not putting my hand up for Obama. But he did stop the funding for this kind of research and cut this out kind of thing, guys, And apparently it was subcontracted out to the laboratory in Wuhan. Now, how it got out, whether deliberate or whether accidental, is not the question right now. But it got out, and you got 100,000 people dead in America, and you got many thousands all around the world dying from it. And it's an ironic situation, by the way, here in Australia, where we might have people coming from New Zealand to go to Melbourne, for argument's sake, and Sydney, whereas somebody from Perth or Brisbane can't get to Sydney. We've got to unlock our travel. It's unconstitutional. I've been through this before. I said Section 93. We've got freedom of travel within the state and within each state and between all the states. There is no such thing as we'll lock you down, we'll stop you travelling more than 150 kilometres, as happens here in Queensland. And later on, I think as of tomorrow, in New South Wales, you can travel anywhere in the state. Now, they've got more COVIDs than what we've got in Queensland, but you can go anywhere in the state. But in Queensland, we've got the Premier very, very arrogantly saying that, well, we're going to close, I'm going to close the border until September. And then you've got the Chief Health Officer in right over her shoulder, shall we say, saying on camera, oh, at least, she said. Oh, really? So as I said, how strange it is that people from Wellington, Auckland or Christchurch or anywhere else in New Zealand might soon be able to fly into Australia and back again legally, become the first place to open up internationally for flights. So we should lead now on from that, which is bizarre in its own right, to America putting on sanctions on China. Now, there hasn't been announced anything massive like a trade ban, but it might lead to that. And then, well, this, by the way, for those who have some knowledge of what happened at World War II and what happened before World War II, you had Japan invading Manchuria, heard of the Manchuria massacre and all the rest of it. Now, America put big embargoes on sale of rubber and fuel and other products to Japan. And that led to eventually Pearl Harbor and all the rest of it, as history, as the saying goes. But what we're having now is a bit of a parallel. If we get a trade ban with China, and that hasn't been said the last few days or anything, you'll get a situation where America will just say, right, no trade with China. That means in Australian context, we don't send any gas, iron ore, coal or anything else to China. We don't get their junk, their products out here. And that means that stores like Target and Kmart and all the rest of it, and a heap of other stores, would close for business within 3 weeks. Now, the most important thing to say in this message, by the way, is apart from that, and I've been over it before, is any of you who've got money invested in this Bitcoin or any of the other cyber currencies, you better watch yourself. Because America is very likely to turn off the internet completely during any war between the US and China. Now, Australia, once again, has a role to play in this. Not because we're going to be suddenly out there fighting the Chinese. It's not like that. In fact, our leaders, our Prime Minister, will make a statement on air immediately anything breaks out that, oh, we're so sad, we're so sorry, we're frustrated, we're perplexed by this terrible situation with two of our friends, the United States and China, at each other's throat. And China is not our enemy. And then you'll get Xi Jinping or whatever getting on the television aimed at Australia and saying, oh, Australia's not our enemy. We're not at war with Australia. And a lot of people say, what a relief, you know. But we reserve the right to bomb and attack any American assets anywhere in the world. And that includes Pine Gap and Northwest Cape, and if planes are sitting on the runway at Tyndall in the Northern Territory, they're gone. If a ship's sitting in Woolloomooloo in Sydney or something, it's gone. So we'll be affected. And my advice has always been for family and friends to keep right away from military establishments in Australia, if anything breaks out like that. But most importantly, the Americans will, you can be 100% sure, will close down the internet. And so all those cyber currencies and all that sort of thing will cease to exist. And it's no use saying, oh, gee, I mortgaged my house and Bitcoin was going up like a rocket. It was going fantastic. I'm standing to make 10 times the money that I had invested. Well, watch yourself, because that could become nothing on the day that the internet is closed down. And I've been through some of this before, admittedly, but I'm just wondering, is there a link, is there a lead on, shall we say, between what's going on with COVID-19, what's happening with the Hong Kong situation, and the Chinese cracking down extremely heavily on China? Not China itself, well, China, yes, but Hong Kong, I did mean to say. Will America help? And I think, frankly, they won't. But if they invade Taiwan, as they actually threatened to do, that is another case. And if the Australian ship, as we've been urged, by the way, my closing thoughts on this is we've been urged to have military ships go within the 12-mile limit of these fake Chinese islands in the South China Sea. If China wouldn't sink an American ship, but some commander on, shall we say, on these fake islands might decide to sink an Australian ship after warning them 3 times, let's say, you in Chinese waters, go away, and the Australian captain saying, no, listen, this is international waters, we've got the right to sail here, we're just maintaining our right to sail through international waters. All kinds of things can go wrong in an instant, and we could suddenly find ourselves with a ship that's sunk. So you guys ought to think through all what I'm just saying right now. It's just for a discussion, and let's say I welcome any polite and civil comments that might be made on the subject, and just thank you for viewing.